sinners, and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
Ah, bitches. I feel like shit. I really do. Oh my God. I feel so bad that I didn't even start out with sinners and saints, did I? Yeah, it was a damn good night last night. I felt it totally this morning. But I gotta say, there was the hottest Latin man I have ever seen in my life shopping this morning at the grocery store. Picture 6'3", dark hair, dark eyes, beautiful skin, and skin-tight jeans, the kind that looked like they were painted on. And he had those beefy thighs, those thick legs. He was just like a hulk of a man that was just ready to bulldoze somebody. And I wish that bulldozer would have run over me, I'm telling you.
What can I do for you?
I think it was just blind coincidence that we wound up on the same aisle almost every time he turned a corner. Coincidences do happen, right? And then when I was leaving the grocery store, heading back to the car, here comes another hot Latin man that, I mean, it's at this point, I think this is going to be my lucky day. But unfortunately, he launched a snot rocket, and it kind of turned me off just a little bit. In a certain circumstance, that might have been sexy for me, but not when I'm nursing one hell of a hangover, wanting some scrambled eggs, but of course we can't afford eggs in this country. So I just had to walk on by, offer a nod, and wish that I had not seen him squirt splooge out of his nose. If it had been splooging out of somewhere else, that would have been different. Funny that. Well, anyway, I hope you're all doing great, sinners and saints. I hope you're feeling sexy. You're feeling horny if you want to. I hope you're having a good day, a good night, however it is. Once again, I am preparing for happy hour, and I'm getting ready to get a facial. No, not that kind. An actual face cleaning kind. Although the other kind would be quite nice if somebody's offering. I don't know, are you? I was wondering, it just occurred to me, have you ever been in a situation, okay, for example, I typically go to happy hours on Fridays and Saturday nights. Sometimes I'll go on Mondays. It just depends on how I feel. And we all know that there are what you call regulars, people that go frequently on those same days. If you don't get to know them, you recognize them and just know that they're going to be there. Usually at a happy hour, though, people are sitting at the bar and you do become acquainted with them in certain ways. It may not be anything outside the bar, but within those walls, you become bar friends. But what happens when someone starts to become a regular and you don't really like them? In fact, they annoy you and they always want to sit next to you. I mean, they're not causing any harm. They're not insulting. It's just that there's some kind of thing between us. We just don't vibe, in my opinion. And to me, it's a little bit frustrating because it's taking away my attention to people that I want to be friends with, that I want to talk to. But like I said, there's no ugliness here. It's just these people are polite that do these kinds of things. This person in particular that I'm talking about is very nice. And I know they just want to make conversation and have a connection, but it's just not feeling good for me. And I don't know how to get around that. I don't know how you avoid that situation. You sometimes hope that you have friends sitting around you and they can't really sit with you, and they'll go and they'll make some actual friends that they can hang out with. But it does suck to feel this way. It sucks to not want to be around a person. You know, they have every right to be there too. I just wish they wouldn't annoy me sometimes. I'll give you a further example. Just last week, we all were sitting there, my friends and I, and this person came in, and under my breath, I just went, oh, fuck, damn it. And I feel bad about that, but it is what it is. And I thought, well, we're good. Everybody's sitting here around me and around us, and they'll probably come over and say hi, and we'll say hi back. And that'll be it. They'll wander off and talk to other people. Well, no, they stood right behind us at the bar, trying to interject conversation, trying to coax us into turning around to like include them in our wider conversation. And I'm sorry, I just wasn't in the mood to do that. So what do you do in a situation like that? I actually know people who were regulars who become so annoyed with someone that they just stop coming. Now, maybe I'm the one who's the annoying person, which can very well be. I did get a smack of reality last night when apparently I do talk very loud sometimes, especially when we're drinking. But to me, I am not the loudest talker in the bar. But having heard that, even though it was told to me in jest, I know now that I need to try to curb that. I need to pull that in a little bit. And I will. I'll do my best now to mentally remember, don't talk so loud. But I am not giving up my happy hours. Not for that reason. Of course, you can't always make it to happy hour every time you want to. But I do try to carve out that time on these 2 days. I mean, to me, the bar and hanging out with friends is like being a kid at a playground. It's the adult way of having fun. And I know not everybody has to drink and all that. You can come to the bar, and we have several people who come and they have soda or they have water. They don't drink, and they have just as much fun as the rest of us. I wish that I would finally get to that point. But in a social environment like that, I do really enjoy drinking. And because I view that time as precious, I don't always want to spend it with someone that I'm not really interested in. That may sound self-centered and egotistical and arrogant, but it's the truth. We have little time in life as it is. Why would you spend it with people who don't want to spend it with you? Wow, that sounded more profound than I wanted it to, because I'm just talking about hanging out at the bar during happy hour. And it's funny though, I am actually, as I'm getting ready this evening, I'm thinking, well, I'm actually dreading but hoping that this person won't be there tonight. Just because I don't want to be around them, okay? And it really does suck for me to say that, but what would I do if they were actually listening to this podcast and heard this? Well, they wouldn't know it's them I'm talking about. Or maybe they would. But people are so vain, I think a lot of times, or maybe they have, like me, self-esteem issues where any conversation, especially negative ones, are about me, you. So in thinking about it like that, yeah, I could be hurting someone's feelings without even intending to. And like I've said, though, they're perfectly nice. The conversation's been okay always, but it's not what I want to talk about a lot of times when we're there. And I promise you, the last thing you really want to do to me when I'm drinking is annoy me. There's so many things that are annoying, aren't there? I mean, like this morning when I'm drinking out of my Diet Pepsi can and the tab catches one of my beard hairs. It looked like I had a Christmas ornament dangling underneath my nose as I'm trying to wrestle the one hair loose, and it feels like it's ripping out my skull. That's annoying. You know, the old saying, does a bear shit in the woods? Well, apparently not. Apparently it shits in my side yard and I step in it and ruin a brand new pair of Skechers. That's annoying. So if you don't want to be put in that kind of category with me, don't annoy me when we're at happy hour. Okay? So what's the answer to all this after all this whining about this person? The answer is we just got to suffer through it. If you want to call it suffering, we try to make the best of it as we can. And I always do at some point in the night, if I'm still there, I will get up and move around because I want to talk to people. And it doesn't look like I'm trying to avoid someone. It just looks like I'm trying to make conversation with other people. And that's fine. That's part of the fun of happy hour. Is talking to different people, especially if you've got a lot of friends. The idea about happy hour is talking to a lot of different people and enjoying a drink or two. And of course, maybe sucking a dick in the men's room. I would say in the car, but right now it's so fucking cold in Tennessee. I don't think any guy wants to have frostbitten balls. I certainly don't. So the only option is a hotel or at home or in the men's room. And considering it's one of my kinks, I would pick the men's room. I guess when you think about it, and we've talked about it a lot on this podcast, obviously I've had, especially in my younger years, many a men's room encounter. And that's obviously affected my view of sex. I'm pretty sure that my thoughts on sex are very different from other people. I mentioned before watching the Netflix show Heartstopper, and how wonderful it is. The main characters of Charlie and Nick, they're in high school and they fall in love and they have their close-knit group of friends. In the last season, Nick and Charlie start having sex. I know that there are people who have had that wonderful type of life where they fall in love with someone at a young age, they stay with that person, they're sexually connected with that person, and it's a much more intimate, loving experience versus me, who initially hoped for that kind of relationship when it comes to sex, but discovering porn and discovering how horny men are and the excitement of men's room encounters, parking lot encounters, etc. It really did define sex differently for me. Do I have any regrets about that? No. But I think that I'm able to disconnect and know the difference between the two types. If I'm in a relationship, of course, I'm committed to that person in every way, shape, and form. But if I'm not with anybody, all bets are off. And I can enjoy the physical aspects of sex versus the emotional aspects of sex. And I've experienced both. I have. I'm lucky that way. At least I've experienced sex in a loving relationship. And it's absolutely true that for me, sex with someone I was in love with was absolutely the most amazing sex I'd ever had. Now, I've had some good sex that was not connected to love. And yeah, I would have that again in a heartbeat. I'd have it right now if somebody popped in at the front door. Well, Henry Cavill, Diego Sands, Luke Evans, Russell Tovey. Yeah, there's quite a few guys on my list. The guy who plays Will Trent, what is his name? I feel so bad that I don't know his name. Oh my God, he's hot as fuck too. But maybe it's just that I'm really horny and everybody's looking a little bit hotter right now. Hell's bells, the doorknob to my bedroom's looking pretty hot. If I have no other options, I can always go with that, right? Oh, Lord. Why do I feel like I'm just wasting time today? Which I have, by the way. Nursing the hangover all day, talking to you guys and whining about a hangover when I could be much more productive, and I'm just not. But hell, it's my day off. Don't I have a right to be lazy and have some fun, or not have fun, or just lounge around and enjoy? I think I have that right, just like all of you do. It's funny, it just came to me. I've had the pleasure of happy hours in several different countries, and one of them that stands out the most for me was a night in Melbourne, Australia. And cultures were different. In the United States, most bars are open every night of the week, and they can be open very late. But like in England and in Australia, a lot of places are closing like at 8 or 9 o'clock or even earlier, and only stay open late a couple of nights a week. So we went into this amazing bar. It was very large, and we were like just a few that were in this whole big place. So we were chatting it up at the table, and we had ordered drinks from the server, and she went to get them, and I'd ordered a margarita, and they literally did not know how to make a margarita. That was fine. Anyway, I just finished with my first drink, and it wasn't very good, so I was going to go to the bartender myself and order a drink. And so I did, and he is your quintessential Aussie. The beautiful tan skin, the blonde hair, blue eyes, muscular, a total surfer dude, and he was fabulous. But what really struck me was that amazing accent. And he was just chatting away with me, and I was explaining that I was from the United States, and we were from Tennessee, and trying to explain Dolly Parton, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he started chatting about himself, and he noticed how I was looking at him. He just kind of said, "What?" And I just said, "I could listen to you reading from the phone book. You can talk all night long as long as you talk with that accent." And it just made me melt like butter, I'm telling you. I just took a turn there in the conversation, didn't I? Jesus. Okay, so I'm sitting here. I just applied my face mask, which is a green tea facial. So I've got about 10 minutes or so to talk, which I won't talk that long. I'm pretty sure you never can trust me to talk that long, can you? I'm sure you all think that I talk too much as it is. But I'll say this. I do have an agenda tonight at happy hour. I guess you all would think, well, what's new? You always have an agenda. And that agenda always is to get some dick, right? And I guess you're right, but there's some days where that's not the first thing that occurs to me. And I know men are pigs, and I'm one of those pigs, and I do seem to have sex on my mind all the time. But after seeing the hot Latin man this morning at the grocery store, oh my God, I just want some dick. And if you're asking me if I'm going to be a pig and if I'm blowing somebody, am I going to be thinking about him? Well, it depends on who it is that I'm blowing. If it's a hot guy, which normally is all I blow, then no. But if it's somebody that doesn't meet that top standard but is very acceptable, then yeah, probably I will. How many times do I have to say it, sinners and saints? Men are absolutely pigs. Do I need to repeat that? Men are pigs. And trust me, as you get older, it is very important to take care of your skin. Honestly. I mean, I can't afford plastic surgery, so I better use moisturizers and face masks, facials, anti-aging creams, etc., just to help out, just to keep me a little bit younger. And by the way, if you had seen me the way I looked when I woke up this morning, you all would have had a heart attack. I practically did. Crawled myself into the bathroom to get a sip of water and look in that mirror and was like, God, this is what dead looks like. And I know most of us believe that eating carbs, eggs, maybe a couple of bottles of liquid IV, that would be the best treatment for a hangover. But I'll have to say, after this morning, that the best treatment might be a hot flesh injection from a 6'4" hot Latino man with painted on jeans. But maybe that's just me. Damn, this was a fucked up episode, wasn't it? Just scattered and random and stupid. But thank you for listening. I hope you've had some fun and have been entertained. And we'll be coming back next week to pay me a visit. I'll be here, right-tailed and bushy-eyed, or half-dead, depending. Remember, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon. Oh shit, I didn't turn on my timer for my facial. God damn it. And did I say bright-tailed and bushy-eyed? I meant bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Anyway, keep grabbing life by the balls and keep being real. See you later, sinners and saints.